Hi guys, it's Carissa, and I received a pretty positive response on my last video, as well as in some private messages from you guys wanting to hear more about my placenta encapsulation experience. And I want to first and foremost thank my friend Lisa and her husband Bill for sharing their experience, because that made it feel more accessible to me. I think that it would have seemed like an intimidating process, or it would have seemed like something that I guess I wouldn't be able to do given my circumstances. I would have assumed, you know, oh, you have to be working with a doula, or oh, you must have to be working with a midwife. I had a lot of preconceived notions about ingesting your placenta after birth, and she sort of normalized it all for me, because this is something that we've all heard about for a long time. I think it's even something people joke about, but when it comes down to it, I really do feel like it was a good decision for us. Even though there's no way to really know if it worked or not, I can tell you that I had pretty much the exact end result I was hoping for, so that makes it well worth it to me. So I will have Lisa's video linked below. You may or may not have seen it a few years ago when she posted it, but she did sort of a Q&A, and it's a lengthy video. So it really covers a lot of information, and it will probably be even more helpful than what I can give you now. But because she did that video, she made the whole process seem very simple, and it really was. And if you work with a great encapsulation specialist, that person will make all of it very easy for you, because you obviously have enough going on in those first few days. So placenta encapsulation, and I believe just ingesting your placenta in general, is a form of Eastern medicine, and the main benefit and the main reason for doing it is to help regulate your hormones after giving birth. The placenta has such a big job to do in the womb, and once you give birth, all of those hormones are flushed out of your body, and you go through such a drastic change. It can feel like a heavy withdrawal to no longer have that same hormone pattern flowing through your body. So after giving birth, it's normal for a lot of women, and I hate that it's so taboo, but it is normal for a lot of women to suffer from postpartum depression, because it's a chemical imbalance. Their brain is trying to work out the feelings of having this little baby and having such a fluctuation in hormones, and knowing you're supposed to feel happy and you're supposed to feel good, but sometimes women don't feel that way, and that can add extra pressure and stress, and just the frustration of that is something that I don't think anybody should have to deal with. So please just make sure that you do your research, that you are well informed, and you make this decision for you. Don't feel like it's something that you should do or have to do. It is an expense, and like I said, there's no blood test to know like, oh, it worked, or oh, I needed this. So just keep that in mind. But I just felt, for our circumstances and for my history with how things go hormonally in my body, I just really wanted to do this as sort of a safety net. But do your research. Some hospitals make this very difficult for people, and some hospitals don't let you do it or fight you on it. If you're planning a hospital birth like I was. Some doctor's offices won't give you waivers, or they will, some providers are weird about this. So I was very lucky. I didn't really get much pushback. I did have to have a waiver for the hospital, and the hospital provided one as well. I also had to provide the specialist with a statement from my OBGYN saying that I did not have any communicable diseases or STIs. And she did ask us to provide gallon-sized freezer bags at the hospital, but they actually put the placenta in a container for her to remove it. And I never saw it at any point. I was completely knocked out, unfortunately. So I did tell my husband. I had paperwork on it. I did have a birth plan written out. It was a very small one, and I have a video on that if you'd like to see it. And honestly, it was just mainly to inform them of a few things regarding me physically and my birth and sort of my situation. And the placenta encapsulation was the main reason I chose to do that. I did also test positive for group B strep, and that did not affect my ability to go forward with that, as well as having things like morphine or an epidural or having the C-section. I just had to make sure to state that I didn't want the placenta to come into contact with any chemicals of any kind. And had it needed to be sent to pathology, a small portion could have been sent, not the entire thing. The doctor that performed my C-section did want to keep my placenta to test it to see if something had gone wrong. Because I didn't have preeclampsia, but I was sort of on the border, like teetering on the edge of getting it towards the end of the pregnancy. And I had a really rough birth experience. So she wanted to see if that had anything to do with it. Unfortunately, Mike either forgot or I didn't really drive home the issue that only a portion could have been sent unless they felt they needed the whole thing. He really fought them on that and said, no, we are keeping it. If they had been able to discuss it with me, there's a chance that I would have changed my mind, or I would have tried to negotiate that with them and see if they could only take some of it. So the specialist picked up my placenta from the hospital, and after the 24-hour process, she dropped it back off at the hospital. She wanted to come in and kind of counsel us and talk with us and see if we had any questions or concerns, and introduce herself, but unfortunately she showed up at a time when, without exaggeration, I think there was like 6 people in the room trying to get in touch with me. I was working with a lactation consultant at the time. There was a photographer with the hospital coming in trying to take pictures of the baby, even though we kept telling them that we weren't interested. A nurse had come in to give me my medication. Someone else came in to take vitals. It was just really crazy. And all I was able to do was sort of wave at her across the room and not really actually get to say hello, which was such a shame. I really would have liked to have spoken with her. But she provided us with the capsules. In her contract information, she says that you should expect between 95 and 130 capsules out of your placenta, and I was able to get 230 out of mine. So I'll have extras for quite a while, which is great because there are a lot of benefits that people claim to have, you know, just taking them here and there after the initial 2-week period. So I've been storing them in the freezer. She provided them in this adorable airtight jar, and you can see I have a good amount left. There was actually a separate bag, a sealed bag of the excess. So I started taking those right away when she dropped them off at the hospital. The instructions say to take 2 to 3 capsules 3 times a day in the first week, and 1 to 2 capsules 2 to 3 times per day in the second week. And that was a lot more difficult to regulate than I would have expected. If I didn't have medications for my blood pressure that I have to take 3 times a day, it would have been a lot harder as a new mom, just coming home, having visitors, being sleep deprived, having appointments. It probably would have been a lot more difficult to make sure that I was getting these in as often as I needed to. So if you don't happen to have some other reason to keep yourself on top of that, I would recommend setting an alarm on your cell phone, or something like that, something that will remind you to make sure that you take them, because those first 2 weeks are so critical. This service costs $225 where I live. I'm sure that varies based on the person and maybe the services that they offer, but I had to pay a $25 deposit and provide her with $100 when she picked up the placenta, and the final $100 balance when she dropped off the pills. And on the outside, she included a keepsake, which was Vera's umbilical cord, shaped like a heart and dried. So we have that, and it's, you know, you might think something like that seems a little bit gross, but I think it's totally precious, and I love having it. So that's a really nice touch. One of the instructions that she gave Mike when she was dropping off the pills was to tell me to make sure to take these with food, because you can have a tendency to burp the pills, which sounded really gross at first, but I will tell you that a couple of times I took the pills and didn't get to food right away, or I took them with water and not really with a beverage that would have masked the flavor. And I have burped the pills a couple of times, and it's noticeable, but it's not gross. There's just something kind of earthy tasting about it, and it's really not that bad at all. So I don't feel like I had any adverse reactions or any issues. And you know, tasting it in one little belch a little while after taking the pill is really not a big deal. And I will tell you that I did have concerns, being that I have PCOS, that I would not have decent milk supply, or it would take a while for the milk supply to come in, especially because on top of that it was a C-section birth. But my milk came in on day 3, and it was pretty impressive in those first few days. I was able to pump almost an ounce out of each side already on the first day that my milk came in. And since then, it's only improved. And my little girl seems to prefer breast milk. I'm getting to a place where we've been able to, for the last few days now, avoid doing any formula feeding and exclusively breastfeed. And I'm really proud of that, because I didn't think that that would even be possible for one day, let alone a few days. And being able to breastfeed her as much as I have has felt like such a gift. And I can't speak enough to not having felt any postpartum issues. Those of you who have been here for a while and know that it's been a long road for us, and we had a lot of trouble conceiving and keeping a pregnancy, would probably think, well, of course you wouldn't be sad because this is something you've worked so hard for. But I was really worried about the contrary. I was worried about feeling all out of sorts, having the hormonal issues on top of feeling really separated from the birth experience because I had to be put under, and having to wait a few hours to even be able to meet the baby. Not being able to have that skin to skin first off. Just, you know, there's some things that you really hope for, knowing that that could all be a possibility, that it's totally possible that things could go that way. I was okay with that, but I knew that there was a chance that it would kind of affect me in the back of my mind. And I have felt so much better about all of it than I could ever expect to. I don't have major anxiety. I don't have the baby blues. I don't have anything looming over me mentally that I really have to worry about or have concerns over. Am I a little sleep deprived? Yes, but that's really all I can say. And even that I can't really complain about, because I've been fighting for that for years. So I feel really good about this decision to do this. I feel really good about this experience. Mike thought it was a little strange at first, but he did his own research, and after doing some reading on it, he seemed really interested in it and to really want to support doing this. And I found him trying to educate as many people as possible and tell them about it, because he thought it was such an interesting thing to even be able to do that and have that as an option. So I thought that was really great, and I would recommend it to anyone who has the opportunity to do it. So that is it. If you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. But I will direct you to Lisa's video because it's very thorough and it covers a lot of topics. That will be linked in the description below. And I thank you guys so much for watching and for supporting us and for your wonderful comments. Every now and then when I'm sitting on the couch and snuggling my baby, I will pull up my inbox on YouTube and look at all of the really sweet comments that you guys have been leaving. And until I can master typing well with one hand, it'll be a while before I can reply to as many of them as I'd like to. But please know that we are seeing your messages and they completely warm our hearts. We're having a great time right now. Things are really wonderful, and it's so nice to be able to share that joy with you guys. It's just unlike anything else. I just can't even explain. So thank you guys so much. I'll never be able to thank you enough for being here for us. I will talk to you soon. Bye.